Hello everyone and welcome to So Many Games So Little Time. My name is Joachim and today we'll be talking about Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Now, for those of you who have never heard of this, basically we are going to try to colonize Mars as efficiently as possible. And we do that by trying to raise the oxygen to 14% and trying to increase the temperature to 8 degrees, and also by flipping all these tiles over to nice oceans and so on. We'll also be trying to build some forest to get us victory points along the way. And our terraforming rating, which is here, is not only our score, but it's also part of our money income. Also very important. Now, what makes this game special is that we have 5 phases that you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and every player has 5 cards with which they can choose a phase. Now, before I go into that, I'm going to continue with the setup. You will place these transparent cubes on both tracks. If you play multiplayer, everybody will place their token on the 5 terraforming rating. If you play solo, you will take one more cube of a player who's not playing and put it here on a color. And then here you have also the 5 cards of that dummy player. Then on your board, you will take your own color and put a cube on each 0, all the way here and all the way there. And that's it. You will make sure that you start with 8 cards and 2 corporations, of which you will choose 1. And then of course also you have the currency here, which is 10, 5 and 1. So what makes this game special is the phases, as I've mentioned before, because let's say we're with 4 players, somebody chooses development, somebody else chooses production, and somebody else chooses action. Let's say 3 players, then you will have development, action and production, and then only those 3 phases will happen that turn, okay, that round. So then the next round something else might happen, because the cards that you have chosen, they are stuck. You will need to choose a different card for the next round, which you'll play there, and then you can take this one back and then do the round, okay, just to make sure that people don't always use the same action every round or the same phase every round. Okay, so we're going to start with the easiest one to explain, which is 5, which is research. Now with research, you can see here on the card, it says all players draw 2 cards and keep 1. And the bonus is draw an additional 3 cards and keep 1 additional card. What does bonus mean? If you have chosen this phase, this round, you get to do the ability and the bonus. If somebody else has chosen it and not you, you can only do the ability, which is the top one. So for example, if you have chosen it, you will draw 2 plus 3, so you'll draw 5 cards and keep 2. If somebody else has chosen it, you will draw 2 and keep 1. So let's say in a round where 3 players are playing, you have chosen research, you get to take 5 cards and keep 2. They get to take 2 cards and keep 1. Now, if multiple people have chosen research, you still only do it 1 time. And that goes for every phase. It's not because 2 of you have chosen the same phase, you do that phase twice. No, only once. Okay, that is research, fairly straightforward. So I'll leave this up. Now, the next phase I want to talk about is development, because development allows you to play a green card. Each player may play 1 green project card, and as a bonus, you pay 3 credits less for the cards that you play that phase. So what does that mean? Like I said, you start with 8 cards, and these can be 3 colors. You have green cards, you can have red cards and blue. I'll show you blue soon enough. So the green cards, they are very important because they're all production cards. They will all give you stuff over time. So for example, let's take the algae here, right? It costs 9 credits to play. And if you play it, or when you play it, this will give you a production of 2 plants. It says so literally on the card. During the production phase, this produces 2 plants. So if you were to play this, then you move this up 2. Very important, because you no longer have to look at this card. You only have to look at your board when you do production later on. No need to look at this because you already moved it up here. Okay, makes it a lot easier because if you have many cards here, it's much easier to just look here and not there. Now you might have noticed something else about this card, and that is this stuff here at the top. Now it says here the double arrow and then the 5 water tiles. This just means double arrow that there is a requirement. In this case, you go down, you look at the tick, requires 5 ocean tiles to be flipped. So as you can see, none of these have been flipped so far, so I cannot build this card. I have to wait until these are flipped, or until I flip them or somebody else does. But that's how that works. For example, then we have the adopted lesion. So, and also the only thing important about the LG card is that you still have a tag here. That's the only thing that remains important after you've built it. So let's say it's there. So then we have the adopted lesion here. So it's 6 credits that you have to pay. Then you have microbes and plants. Now, are these tags important? No, until you have a card that says if you have this tag or if you have this tag, you get this and this and this, which is later. So during the production phase, this produces 1 plant. Okay, so once again, if you build this, you just put it next to the next one like this, and then you move it up 1. So now you have 3 production. And as you can see, you only have to look at your board. 1, 2, 3, 3. So you don't have to look at this anymore unless you want to check your tags. So production can be many things. Now we're producing plants, right? But some cards will allow you to produce money. Other cards will allow you to produce cards, which is the blue one. Other cards will allow you to produce money, as you can see here, which would be 3. Or they will allow you to produce steel or titanium. Steel and titanium are particularly tricky to understand. In the original Terraforming Mars, when you produce, you would get it in your hand physically and you could spend it. But now these two, they are just always applicable. They're always applied. You don't have them in your hands anymore. It's a permanent discount. So let's say I have 1 steel and I want to build the Callisto Penal Mines. It says here for every building, so this token, this icon here, for every icon, I get for every steel I have here, I get -$2. So I have 1 steel, this is a building, -2, I only have to pay 18. If I have 8 here, then that would be -16, for example, because every step here is -2, -2, -2, -2, okay? And the same thing goes for titanium, except they give you a discount for the space tag, which you see here, which is like the star, okay? So if I had 2 titanium, it would be -3, -3, so -6, this would only be 14. If I have 2 steel and 2 titanium, both tags are on this card, that would be -4 plus -6 -10. So that is how that works. Once again, once these cards are here, for example, the quarry, right, which gives you the discount, you move it and you ignore it for the rest. This also has a requirement, and it says requires 3 or fewer ocean tiles to be flipped, which in this case is the case, so I will probably be playing this quite early in the game. All right, so I'm putting this here. So those are the green cards. So once again, if you have chosen this phase, you will get a 3 credit discount. So Dusty Quarry, for example, will be free. If you have not chosen this, you can only play 1 card, and then I would have to pay 2 credits. All right. So that is development. Next up is production. Now I'm going to production because development gives you a lot of cards that produces items. So now I'm going to show you what exactly happens when you do production. Let's say I have a bunch of green cards here and they all give me stuff like 1 card, 3 heat, 4 plants, and then these things don't matter, and maybe 4 credit. Let's say we're way farther, so I get 12. So you can see if you go higher than 10, you use another token to put there. So this is 10, so now I have 12 here. So if I were to produce now, it says on the card, let's say I chose this phase, it says gain 4 mega credits. So I take 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And then I also gain heat. So my heat is at 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then I also gain plants. So that's 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I also gain I draw cards, sorry, so I take 1 card. And then I also gain my mega credits equal to my production, which is 12. So 10 and 12. And my terraforming rating, which is 5. So I take 5. And that will be my production. Okay. Now, if I had not chosen this phase, but somebody else did, then I would just have 4 credits less, because it would just be 12 plus 5, which is 17. Okay, everything else would still be the same. All right, so of course in the beginning your production will be mostly disappointing because you haven't played many green cards yet, and it'd also be a little bit difficult to get a lot of money at the start. I mean, your corporation will give you money, but production wise here, that will go quite slow. Then we have the construction phase. So in the construction phase, each player can play 1 blue card or 1 red card. So what does that mean? You have the blue cards and the red cards. For example, these are 2 reds. But as a bonus, if you have chosen this phase, you can draw a card or play another blue or red card in that phase. So the draw a card bonus, you can actually draw first and then play your card. But you either play 2 cards, 2 red ones, or 2 blue ones, or a red and a blue, or you draw a card and you play a card, or you play a card and you draw a card. Those are the options that you have if you've chosen the phase. If somebody else has chosen the phase, you just play 1 blue or 1 red. So the red cards, they are one-off things, okay? They tend to be expensive, even these two examples are quite cheap. They tend to do a lot of flipping tiles. For example, this one costs 4. It requires the temperature to be white. So you can see the temperature here: white phase, yellow, red, and purple. Same thing for the oxygen. So in this case, the ice cap melting, they're still very much frozen. So this is going to take a long time before I play this card. It says here, requires white temperature, flip an ocean tile. So I'll just flip it and you get it. So then we have the work cruise. This costs $5. You may play an additional blue or red card this phase, and I can pay 11 less for the next card you play this phase. So you can see you always need to read the text for sure to know what it does. Now these are always very straightforward. They will always give you a bunch of lightning quick actions or immediate actions that you can do. It'll often be you get plants, or you get animals, or microbes, or you flip a tile, things like that. Okay, instant stuff. So those are the red cards. Then we have the blue cards. Now I don't have the blue cards here because I've already drawn 8, because after this I will be playing a solo game. So I have 2 cards here. We have asset liquidation and assembly lines. Now, for example, I will start with assembly lines because these are 2 different types of blue cards. You can see the purple here and the blue here. The purple ones are effects that will last for the rest of the game, and they happen if you do certain things. For example, assembly lines cost 13 mega credits, has a space tag, so if you have titanium, this would be cheaper. And it has an effect. When you use an action effect on one of your cards, you gain 1 mega credit. So there's nothing you have to do for this. It just happens when you do something else. You use an action, which is actually this. You can see the arrow here. This is a regular action. It is blue and it has an arrow. So in this case, you may play an additional blue or red card this phase. This is only when you play the card. After that it stops. But then for the rest of the game, the action, spend 1 terraforming rating to draw 3 cards. So basically you go down 1 just to draw 3 cards, which is a bit extreme for me. But anyway, if you do this action and you have this card as well, this will give you $1 credit. So let's say you have 10 actions, and during the action phase, you do those actions, it will give you all that money. Now, I will move on now to the action phase, actually, because the action phase says each player activates any action effects and standard actions. So that means if you have 10 action cards, you can activate all of them once. But if you chose the action, then you can use one action on one card twice. And you can still use all the other cards once, but one card can be used twice. Now, that means that this will also give you another credit, right? So it also talks about standard actions. Now, standard actions are here at the bottom. Okay, you can see some of them cost money, some of them are something else. So for an example, I'll give myself 8 heat and 8 plants. And I will also give myself some money. There we go. So let's say it's an action. I don't have any action cards. I just want to do the bottom. I could, if I wanted to, spend 20 credits to build a forest. So if I build a forest, I get 1 point token, get it here. I will increase the oxygen because the forest gives oxygen, right? It creates oxygen, produces it, and also go up 1 terraforming rating. Then I decide, you know what, I'm going to spend 14. So I spent 20 and I get 6 back, and I'm going to raise the temperature. So temperature goes up 1 and my terraforming rating goes up 1. And then I say, I'm going to spend another 15 to flip an ocean tile. So I'm going to not look at this because I'm going to be playing solo now, but I'll show you. I'm flipping this tile, and then I will get what it says. I'll show you 2 more examples. We have this one, and we also have this one. So on those tiles, it'll probably say you get a card, or you get some credits, or you get some plants. And those are all just one-off things, not production. You just get it there immediately, okay? So when you flip an ocean tile, you get what it says on the tile, and you increase your your terraforming rating. Then I also say, I actually have 8 heat, so I can spend 8 heat to raise the temperature again. So I spend it, and I raise the temperature. Now, I could say I'm gonna stop here, except I cannot, because if you have enough to produce heat or produce a forest, you have to use it at the end of the action turn, okay? The reason why is otherwise the game goes too slow. However, sometimes it could be that you have heat, okay? For example, like this. It's 8 now. It doesn't have to be 8, it can be any number. But you have action cards that require heat to be used. So it could be like, oh, I'm going to use 1 heat to activate that card, 2 heat to do another one. And then the turn ends, 5 heat is not enough to produce, so it's fine. Same thing with plants. Sometimes you can use plants for other stuff. So here we have 9 plants. It costs 8 to do a forest. So I have to build it if the action phase happens. So hop, I get another forest 1 point token. I increase the oxygen again and increase my terraforming rating. Now, this might sometimes be a bit difficult to remember, but you can check it on page 14 where it says everything that I have just told you. One more thing about these all 3 actions. The game will end when we reach the maximum, right? But let's say I just built a forest and it's now maximum oxygen. Maximum oxygen. Other people can still build forests. They will still get points. They will still increase the terraforming rating. But the next phase, because it's maximum, you can no longer do that. You can still build a forest and you will still get a point, but you will no longer get a terraforming rating because the planet is already terraformed when it comes to the forests. When all the ocean tiles have been flipped, let's say there's one that hasn't been flipped and I paid for that and this one gets flipped, right? Other people can still flip tiles, but they will just get that reward, the last tile reward, over and over again in that phase. But once you switch the phase, you can no longer do that because all the tiles have already been done. And of course, every time you flip a phase, you also go up on the terraforming rating track. Same thing for the temperature. If it's maximum temperature and I just did that for the last time, everybody else can still do that as long as the phase hasn't ended. Once the phase is over, no more. Okay. The only exception, like I said, are the forest. You can still build forests and get points, but that's it. Everything else, the heat or increasing or flipping tiles, are no longer available when you've done everything. Because, as you might recall, when this is maximum, and everything has been flipped, the game will end because we have successfully terraformed Mars. Okay? So, that is what happens during that time. What else should I tell you at this point? There are many special action cards that I will talk about in a minute. But first I'm going to play the solo game. And then after that, I will show you a lot of action cards that are special, but I will edit this in. But just remember, I am now doing this explanation, then I will play a solo game, and then I'll tell you how I feel about it in 3 different videos. Is there anything else that I need to talk to you about? I think I should, I'm going to repeat once again what it's like if you play a multiplayer game. So everybody starts at 5. And then the first phase is everybody chooses an action. So for example, I choose this action, and then this person chooses this action. Let's say we were playing a 2-player game. Okay, so then we flip the cards. So I have construction and that person has action. So we flip the tiles, and then we'll both first do construction. We can both play 1 blue or 1 red card, but I can also draw a card or play a second one. And I can play a card first if I wanted to. Draw a card first if I wanted to. We both finish that, then we both do actions. I can activate all my blue cards. I can activate the bottom ones as much as I want, but the other person can do the same thing, but they can activate 1 card twice. Now, let's say that is done. These cards stay, right? Then we choose a new action. For example, I chose production, and 1, 2, 3, up. We both chose production. So these 2 are flipped back over. This is over. Now, what we do when we play is we immediately take our previous cards back, because otherwise it might be confusing after we've done everything. So now we do production twice. It's not because we both chose it that we produce twice. No, it just means we both get to do the bonus. That's all. So we both get $4. We get 5 credits because it's a terraforming rating. We get the money we have here, the amount of cards we produce, the heat and the plants, and that's done. And then we do it again. Next round, development and construction. Now I get a discount for a green card that I play. That person can only play the green card. Then construction is the same thing as before. So that's how we keep going, right? And then just to repeat all the actions, if somebody plays research, if I play it, I get to draw 5 cards, keep 2, but the other people, 2 cards, keep 1, unless they've also chosen it. So that is it. At the end of the game, what do you get points for? You will get points for, and I haven't pointed that out yet, some cards have a planet here, which is a point, and some cards have a planet with an asterisk on it, like here, which means in this case 1 victory points per 2 Earth symbols that I have, icons. There are many different styles of these, okay? You add all those points, so the points on the cards, or 1, and like these. Then you also, of course, add your terraforming rating where you are. And then another thing you add are the forest points that you have. Okay, and you add all that up, and then you know who won. If there's a tie, then you add up all the resources here. And yes, ties do happen, because the first game we played was 37-37, and I lost with the tiebreaker. Anyway, so yeah, one final thing. I would suggest all the green cards, you put it on one side, and the blue and the red, you put it on the other side, just to keep it separated. Because the green, you tend to be able to ignore them. The others, you need to focus on more often. Okay, so that brings me to one of the 2 very important things that I have forgotten. One is the corporations, but another one is, remember that every card is worth 3 credits, okay? Every card is worth 3 credits. So for example, if I want to play algaes, then I can just discard 3 cards, throw them away, and get $9 or 9 credits, and then I can build algae, okay? As long as the requirements, of course, happen, which in case it does not, but it's just an example. So all your cards are always money. Remember that. And then also, of course, you don't start the game broke. Okay, you start the game with money because you can choose a corporation that you want to play with. You have the United Nations March Initiative and Helion and a bunch more in the box. Everybody gets 2 at the start. You choose one and then you start. So for example, United Nations March Initiative, you start with 35 mega credits. You can see it here as well, 35, and also a skill. That means the first time your terraforming rating is raised each phase, you may pay 6 credits to raise your terraforming rating 1 step. So if you go up 1, then you can pay $6 to go up another 1. All right. Of course, then you need to make sure that you have a very good money engine. You have a high money production, because then that would be a good way to get points. You can only do it once every phase, of course. Then you have Helion, 28 credits that you start with, but also 3 heat production. And also you can use heat as credits, but you cannot use credits as heat. So and you also get a space tag to start with. Now in my case, I will start with Helion. I'm not going to use this. This goes back in the box. I will give myself $28. You can see 27, 28. I will start with 3 heats. Okay. And then I can start the game. Now I'm going to be playing the solo game. How does the solo game work exactly? You will take a cube from a different color, put it here. The solo player will this will be shuffled. The dummy player, you will then first choose your own phase. For example, I choose action, right? And then they will choose something else. Let's say it's development. Then these actions will happen. Of course, the development phase will not have the bonus because the dummy player chose the bonus. The action, however, I will have the bonus because I chose it. So it will do all its actions. And then every round, 1 action, obviously, on 1 phase. And then when that finishes, we go up 1. Then this will get shuffled again. We do all 5 again. Up. So once we reach the 5th spot here on terraforming rating, I can then order the cards according to the phases I want, the order of them. And because it's the last 5 rounds. So then I can maximize potentially those rounds. Now, of course, if I do 2 rounds and there's 3 cards left, I cannot reorder them anymore. Okay, it's set in stone. So basically it's going to be 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So 25 rounds, and then the game will be over. And hopefully by then I will have maximized everything, and then I win the game. If I don't, I lose. Also very important, if you play the game, the solo game, you can choose whether you play expert and then nothing much changes. If you play novice, then every time the cube moves up, you can choose to move one of these tracks 2 spots. Or if you play intermediate, you move up 1. But I'll be playing expert, so you can watch me lose if you want. Okay, that's about it. I think I've talked about everything that I need to. I will now be playing the solo game. So once again, I'm going to play the solo game now, and then I'll talk to you and say about how I feel about the game in general. So 3 videos, this one, solo, and how I feel about it. So that's it. If there are any changes that I want to do, I will edit it in. And yeah, that's it. And check the comments as well, in case I made many mistakes, but I don't think so. All right, that's me. My name is Joachim. This was So Many Games So Little Time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.